More than 288,000 teachers and their employer, the Teacher Service Commission, were for the second day squaring it out at the Court of Appeal, with the government contesting the legality of the 50 to 60% pay hike awarded to teachers by Justice Ndumanderi of the Employment and Labor Relations Court in June this year. Attorney General Professor Govt and the Teacher Service Commission, through its lawyer Fred Ngatia, termed the pay increment verdict irregular and illegal and argued that Judge Nderi had exceeded his mandate.
The judge, on one hand, considers he has been given jurisdiction by the parties, a jurisdiction which he does not have.
Remember, my lords, that the order of his lordship is pay immediately. That order is made in total disregard of the very complicated budgeting process that is insulated by the Constitution itself.
TSC argued that Justice Nderi had pegged the 50 to 60% pay hike ruling on a non-existent agreement between teachers and their employer.
Nowhere, in other words, will you find evidence of an agreement by the parties.
The government poked holes on Justice Nderi's decision and argued that he had ignored expert advice from the National Treasury on the country's financial status before he awarded the pay increment that would cost the taxpayer at least 72 billion shillings to implement.
Even assuming everything else that has been complained about by TSC, by SRC, can be resolved in favor of the respondents, there is one issue that cannot be resolved in their favor. The judge had no constitutional mandate whatsoever to purport to interfere with the constitutionally protected budget and expenditure framework.
Teachers, through their unions NAT and KUPPET, insist the government had violated the Constitution and disrespected the court by failing to implement Justice Nderi's pay hike ruling and therefore did not deserve to be heard by the appellate chamber. Muigai and Ngatia, however, dismissed the contempt of court charges, terming them an abuse of the judicial process.
Despite that, there is this penchant of citing a party for contempt and bringing totally unnecessary applications. Unless we come heavy on that practice, my lords, it will gain widespread notoriety, and before we realize, it will now be part of the practice of law.
Teachers, through their legal team led by Senior Counsel Paul Muite and Kioko Kilukumi, will tomorrow make their submissions before the 5-judge appellate chamber. Francis Gashuri, Citizen Business Center.